Hi, I'm Joe, and this is the Decahedron RPG Podcast.
Mail call from the United States of America.
Hey, this is Jason, just pausing episode 36, Classes versus Skills. That may not be the right title. To say I would love to hear Is James a Munchkin episode so people can give you feedback on whether he is or not. That might increase your people calling in or writing letters. Who knows? I'd be down for that episode. Okay, let me get back to the episode.
That's Jason from the Nerds RPG Variety Cast, a really great podcast. I recommend you checking it out. Hey, Jason, thanks for that support there. Yeah, I talked to James, and he is totally down with the idea. I thought about doing it in like a trial format. You know, I'd be the prosecutor and James would be the defense. The listeners would be the jury, but we don't have a judge. Not going to do it that way. Not quite sure how we're going to do it, but we're going to do it. We're going to have some fun with it. Thanks for the support.
Hey, Jason again. So I finished episode 36, Classes versus Skills. And honestly, I like different ones for different games. So if I'm doing a fantasy game, especially like a beer and pretzels game, a drop-in, drop-out game, where, you know, the GM's running the game and people can just join and, you know, join for a session. And if they can't make the next week, that's okay. Whoever shows up that week is the ones playing. I think class systems work great. And I think class systems work really great for what D&D tries to do. If for a modern game, for other genres, I think skills are better, and I much prefer skills. For a sword and sorcery game, I actually prefer skills. I'm pretty sure I've said before on here, and I know on my show, Barbarians of Lemuria is my preferred sword and sorcery game. And that doesn't really use skills. It uses what's called careers, where you have a number of careers and you automatically can do any skills that fall under that career. So a sailor can tie ropes and navigate by the stars and mop the deck and swear, right? Obviously you can do anything you can articulate a sailor can do, you can do. But yeah, so I fall under both. You know, sometimes class is better. I think for just a straight up fantasy game, we're sitting down, we're going to play some D&D tonight. Fantasy's great. But if we're not, you know, for one shot, short campaigns, all that, then class system works. But if we're doing a modern game, espionage game, something like that, I think we really need to get into skills. So there you go. Talk to you later.
You did not convince me. I say that because when I listen to feedback, I always start thinking, well, yeah, you know, he's kind of right on that one. You know, I mean, you definitely convinced me that you like classes better for those cases that you do. But me, no, still no. You know, I play D&D. It was the classes thing. Didn't much like, that's a lie. I loved it, but a lot of the stuff revolving around classes I didn't like. And, you know, that's when I moved to other games and GURPS, skill-based, Fudge, skill-based, Savage Worlds, skill-based. So it's definitely where my heart lies. And, of course, anyone else can love anything. You know, I'm not besmirching them. I'm just saying that's what I like. However, I did come up with the exception, and the exception could be Rhesus, which I've talked about before. One of my favorite games, S. John Ross, awesome, amazing game. And if you look at it just right, cliches could be thought of as very broad skills, or they could be thought of as very loose character classes. And we're going to call the cliches in Rhesus to be classes, then I'm on board with that.
Hey, this is Jason. Just listened to your feedback, episode 37, and you are 100% right. My memory is definitely faulty regarding AD&D and the alignment stuff. You know, it's funny. I end up defending AD&D quite a bit, and I like the quirky nature of it. But I think at the heart, you know, if I could only have one, I don't know. If we were playing and I could only have one, I might go OD&D. But if I wasn't able to play and just had the books, I would definitely want AD&D for the, you know, the nostalgia and the joy of reading through the books and the high Gygaxian and all that. Once you had all the supplements OD&D, I mean, AD&D is kind of that cleaned up, and then adding in Gygax's musings on top of that, right? So I think I'd still take AD&D just for reading, but OD&D for playing. I don't know. Anyway, I sent you an email with an article on OD&D on why all OD&D fighters are not the same. So I look forward to your feedback on that. I want to thank you for all that you do, and I will talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks for another feedback, Jason. Yeah, I'm not going to take away your AD&D books, but they wouldn't be mine. I think I would go with like first or second edition GURPS and a few of the world books, Vikings, Greece. Those are like my two favorite. Space. Yeah. I think I'd go for those. What I like about the GURPS World books are the adventure seeds that they put in them, just little ideas and to make your own adventure. I like them, of course, and all the background. The second part, I don't know if you sent me the wrong link or if you're reading that differently than I do. The link you sent me was talking about how to treat attribute scores for purposes of experience point bonuses. And that doesn't make fighters any different in my mind. They're just gaining their next level 10% faster or not. And in OD&D, the attribute scores mean so little in actual play, pre-Greyhawk at least. That's when I think OD&D, I don't think Greyhawk. Anyway, that the attribute scores add so little to play that, again, it doesn't make a lot of difference. Your first-level fighter can do anything any other first-level fighter can do. So, no, your article did not sway me unless you sent the wrong one. And if so, I'd be interested in reading the right one. Thanks again. Let's move on. We have an email from a new listener. This listener is Dustin, and he's emailing about episode number 1. In episode number 1, James and I talked about weapon damage, the straight D6 of OD&D, or the every weapon gets its own die type of the newer editions, and that was kind of James's position. Dustin says, I agree with Joe. Dustin, you must be a genius. Anyway, Dustin says, I agree with Joe about every weapon doing the same damage, though I do think there needs to be more stuff, like different weapons interacting differently with armor, being harder or easier to hit with, having slower, faster attack rotation, or whatever. All right, well, thank you very much for that, Dustin. Actually, I agree with everything there, of course. Anytime you say you agree with me, I'm going to agree with you. But even the other stuff, I do agree that weapons need to do more stuff. In Lucky 7, it's the way they interact with armor, largely. There's also some reach things, although it's not a hard rule. That's up for the GM to adjudicate. And heaviness, one hand, two hand, all that stuff. But everything does the same amount of damage, 1 hit point. That should probably be its own episode some other time. But whether or not you score that hit point is influenced strongly by the opponent's armor and your weapon. Yeah, that will be its own episode. We got a short little email from Heathyr. Heathyr said, why is James's Facebook name Richard Malon? Well, Heathyr, I forwarded this question on to James about 2 weeks ago, and he still hasn't replied. I can tell you what I know, and we'll wait for him to fill in the details. Why he's using a fake name and not himself, that's up for him to answer. But Richard Malon was one of his characters when we were playing AD&D back in the 1970s, probably early 80s. He had a wizard named Malon, which I think might have been a misspelling of Merlin, to be honest, but I'm not sure. He would have to address that. But he had a character, he had a wizard named Malon. That was his main character. And then later, as we went to do other games, Traveler or Top Secret or whatever, he just stuck the word Richard in front of it. And that became Richard Malon, which I would mock him for, but I did the same thing. My first D&D character's name was Snogging, and that's still my email address everywhere and my username on so many places. And when it came time to play Top Secret, I needed a name for an MI5 agent, and so he became J.W. Snogging. So I did the same thing back then, and that is that. Okay, everyone. Once again, that is all the feedback we have gotten. It has all been responded to. I am all caught up. That's awesome. This is a feedback-driven show, so please send us your feedback. You can email us at feedback@decahedron.com. Decahedron spelled with a K, not a C. Well, the real word is spelled with a C, but I'm spelling the Greek way with a K. If you want to leave us voice feedback, you can call 562-774-2278. That's 562-RPG-CAST. If you want, you can text that number, and I'll read it out. If you want to just record and send it as email, that's fine. If you want to plug in a microphone to your computer and go to sayhi.chat, that's one word, sayhi. That's not a word, that's a period. Chat /Decahedron, again with a K. There's a web interface. Anyway, That's all the ways. They're going to be repeated in just a second in the outro music, and you can find them in the show notes. Thank you very much for listening. I will talk to you next week. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Decahedron RPG Cast. We'd love to hear from you. You can leave us a voice message by calling 562-774-2278. That's 562-RPG-CAST, or by visiting sayhi.chat/Decahedron. You can also email us at feedback@decahedron.com. Links are in the show notes. For more information, visit decahedron.com. Remember that Decahedron is spelled with a K. Music is by Kevin MacLeod. Logos by Design Cat. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, keep those dice rolling.